the April 28th Neureal Community Livestream. My name is Kyler Anderson. I'm the Community Manager for the Neureal Project. I have with me today some of our fantastic team. I'm going to let Preston go ahead and introduce himself first.
Hey everybody, I'm Preston. I'm the Assistant Community Manager. I just kind of help out on the Telegram chat, answer questions where I can, and help out where I'm needed. Happy to be here.
Perfect. And then let's go ahead and have Jen introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Grayson. I'm the CEO of Powered by Neureal. And once the foundation for Neureal gets set up, I will sit on the board and be the secretary of that foundation. And I handle all the business aspects of the Neureal project and just kind of keeping everybody headed in the same direction.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jen. And then today, I guess we're going to get right into business. The very first thing that we want to announce is we have a new advisor. He's been working with us for a little while, but we're finally ready to bring him on in an official capacity. This is Chris Snook. I'm going to let him go ahead and do his own introduction, though. Go ahead, Chris.
Howdy. My name is Christopher Snook. I'm a cloud architect at Microsoft, HPE, IBM, etc. I've been part of an ICO, as many of you may recall, TBIS. Not fond of those memories, but I still have the technology to build such a thing on my own. I'm also CEO of VeteranNet, which is a nonprofit for getting veterans into homes and creating a tiny little cloud for them to take care of in every location.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Chris. We're incredibly excited to have you. We know you're going to be a huge asset to our community, and thanks a ton for being here. All right, Jen, I think that you had some other business that we needed to move into.
Absolutely. Couple of big things coming up this week. I got invited to go to the Run for the Unicorns, which is in Kentucky in the U.S. It's a big blockchain convention going on. I'll be speaking there, and it's in conjunction with Crystal and Brock Pierce, so very heavy on the humanitarian side, which is a big part of what we are passionate about here. For any of the new members who don't know, one of our biggest projects on the physical humanitarian side is the $200 million contract that we have with the government of Antigua to rebuild the island of Barbuda. And the reason we did that is because we were already modeling some of the hurricane data. And when Hurricane Irma wiped out the island last year, we went down and one of our first MVPs is a hurricane predictor that will narrow the cone of uncertainty. So with that going on, and then additionally, we have a couple of big partnerships that got announced this week, and a couple more coming. I know some of those press releases will come out this week. And then what else specifically, Kyler, did you want me to speak about at this point?
Well, first of all, super excited about you going to the Running of the Unicorns. Just so everybody knows, that's a pretty cool event that we got invited to, thanks to Preston. Thank you, Preston.
Yes, good job, Preston.
He worked out the whole negotiation of that, which was fantastic. So we're really excited to have you down there and have you expound upon the many ways in which Neureal could help assist better horse betting.
Yes, definitely.
So, Chris, did you want to talk at all about Petroleum, or do you want to wait and talk about that in a future date? Maybe just tease people with it.
Android. It's coming. Oil.
All right.
Oil is coming. That gold Texas tea. Yes,
all right.
Yes.
Well, fantastic.
Even though it's one of the necessary evils of the world, we're going to make it better.
Yeah. Help reduce how much wasteful impact there is. So that's definitely useful, especially when everybody gets access to the same kind of powerful tools. So we're probably joined by a lot of new community members tonight, or will be on as they watch this in the future. And so I want to say hello, welcome, thank you. We just launched our bounty program, which we're incredibly excited about, and it's been growing pretty quickly. I think we got 60 users in the first 24 hours, which is pretty awesome. As that continues to grow, guys, we've mentioned on there, and I want to clarify here for you. Each week, the people who are joining for that week will have to get a secret code from this week's from that particular week's live stream in order to be able to unlock the rewards that they've earned so far. That's not you don't have to watch every single week in order to unlock weekly rewards. That's the first week that you are in. You need to watch the stream. However, there is a bonus to being here. If we start noticing substantial numbers of viewers here, we're going to start doing a separate drawing just for the viewers on the live stream. Just a small little reward for you for being here and asking questions. And we're also going to, obviously, we're going to continue doing our weekly drawings. And so at the end of this video, there's going to be a secret code and a drawing. But because we're joined by so many newer members, we thought it would probably be a good idea to run you through exactly what Neureal is and what it does. And we'd like to give Chris the opportunity now. Chris, if you want to dip out, you can leave at any point throughout here. We're going to be making the official announcement as soon as we get your mugshot from you. But yeah,
right.
if you want to stay, you can stay. If you want to take off, you can take off. So
I'll stay for a few more minutes and then I can go eat dinner. But yeah, buddy, let me hang around for a few minutes.
Sounds good. So we're just going to launch into an explanation for all those new people about what Neureal is and some of the unique things that we've got going on here. So to begin with, Neureal started in 2013. We won the 2015 Texas Blockchain Hackathon with a prototype of what the Neureal network is. It's a limited version of what we have capable. We've continuously developed that over time, so that now we have a minimum usable version. And what that represents, essentially, what the final vision of Neureal represents, is a network that you can approach with something that you want predicted, live data that's relevant to that prediction, and a reward in our token of neurons for the most accurate predictor. That spawns a competition where multiple different predictive algorithms from around the world, run by many different people, can then get on there and then compete to best predict your requested prediction. That's called an oracle. The way that you set up the question and the parameters that you use and the live streaming data that you make available, that would be considered an oracle. So to best predict each given oracle, I'm actually going to do something different. Preston usually doesn't get a lot of screen time. Preston, do you want to take over and talk a little bit more about what we are? Real quick?
Yeah, I can do that. Part of the thing that makes the Neureal network so unique and so powerful is the decentralized nature of it. Rather than just one big supercomputer running, a bunch of different AI predictive algorithms, we utilize peer-to-peer computing power, much like, we're using a blockchain, basically. So, for example, Bitcoin is about 1 million times more powerful than the world's largest supercomputer at this point in time. If we can just harness a little fraction of that and put that towards predictive algorithms on a decentralized network, then there really is no limit to what we can predict. And the whole idea behind Neureal is to be able to predict the future much more accurately than anything else, and also make that available to everybody in the world. So anybody can come to the Neureal network and Neureal network and get an answer. And we're making it available for everybody.
Fantastic. Or at least get a forecast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And this is technology that exists right now. I mean, predictive AI is here. It's not going anywhere. It's just.
And I want to point something out here. And I actually think maybe Jen would be, if she's willing, would be a great person to explain this. A lot of people ask at this point in the conversation, generally when I'm talking to people online or face-to-face, this is the point at which they ask, oh, so you're a prediction market. No, we're not. It's different. Jen, do you want me to tackle it, or do you want to tackle this part? I'm trying to figure out how to get everybody involved in this explanation of Neureal.
Yes, it's fantastic. Good job decentralizing this explanation. One of my favorite aspects, and you can add more if I don't hit all the points that you want me to touch on, but one of the things I like most about Neureal is that we're allowing for the ability to predict anything. This isn't just about having a trading bot. This isn't just about being aware of what Bitcoin's going to do over the next 6 days or 6 weeks or 6 months, even though that is an option. But this is really creating a platform where any data set can be brought in and be predicted. Chris talked about the ability for us to have an impact in the oil industry. One of my biggest passions is the healthcare industry. And we have brought on another strategic partner who currently has users that have their personal data as their predict heart attacks or diabetes, or how much that burger that you ate today instead of getting the salad impacted your cholesterol, your lifespan. And the data that's coming back begins to get very, very personal. And so what I really like about Neureal is its limitless ability to impact absolutely every industry. I found a post today that talked about the $1 trillion impact that this is going to have on the financial industry. And I come from insurance, and one of the first applications that I thought of was the ability for Neureal to impact underwriting, which is currently very biased and done by humans who have to read through medical records. Sometimes they miss things. Sometimes they're having a bad day. Sometimes, as I know very well, they can be persuaded by insurance agents to give their client a better rating. And the AI begins to take away those biases that are already built in. And this also frees up those underwriters to now do what they're really great at instead of this very laborious part of their job. So for me, Neureal is about the limitless application into every single industry. And we're already seeing clients that are clamoring for it right now. And so we're being able to begin to apply it now, even as we're in a very beta stage. So I don't know if there was more you wanted me to add to that, Kyler. You can hop in and add from that.
Oops, they couldn't hear me. So let me go back just a little bit. I'm really glad I asked Jen because it's good to see you, by the way, Corey. Um, I love all that stuff that you mentioned. It's all super exciting. There's a lot to build on here. As I'm realizing that you have to walk people through a lot of different things. What I was saying specifically is how do we differ from a prediction market? And one of the best ways that we differ from a prediction market is that generally you're not just offering up, you're not just going out and saying, hey, I want this data predicted, and then one separate model comes and competes against it. This is a continuously evolving and continuously improving thing because of the competition. I like to use a little bit of an analogy. If any of you are familiar with the X Prize, and just in case you're not out there, I'll go very briefly through it. Early 90s, Peter Diamandis was a multimillionaire who decided that he couldn't really live with a future in which humanity was a single planetary species. And so what he did is he looked at how much personal wealth he could throw at the problem, which was about $8 million. Unfortunately, in Spacebucks, $8 million is less than peanuts. And he realized that with that $8 million, he could found one engineering firm in order to try and solve one of the 57 problems that humanity has to solve in order to be able to colonize Mars. And you'd only get one answer for that in one way, not necessarily guaranteed to be the best way. So what he did with that instead is he invested the funds so it would continuously grow, set out parameters to prove that an individual had solved one of these 57 problems, and then offered up a chunk of that money as a reward for doing it. And in doing so, this is why we had the big boom in commercial space companies. This is why we have companies like SpaceX today and Blue Origin, is because they all founded very small to just chase the X Prize. And the X Prize is still a thing that's going today, actually. What I want to compare here is that essentially what we're doing is that instead of hiring one AI team to try and predict your data in one way, in a very specific, with their own proprietary model that they've developed. Instead, what you do is you set your thing onto our network, and then they compete in order to best answer it. And only the most accurate one is paid, which means that as new data comes available that is more useful to your prediction, or as new different incentive or new different models are developed, or refinements on models are developed, our competitors, or our predictors on our network, are incentivized in order to stay the most up to date and the most accurate as possible in order to better win the reward. They're incentivized to go out and find new sources of data that you haven't even considered, and then include those in their predictions in order to become more accurate. And the really cool thing is that each one of the separate predictions that's running on the network, that creates a prediction stream that other predictors trying to predict entirely different things, if they believe it's useful, they can actually buy that prediction stream and then put it to work predicting something else. So the entire network becomes stronger the more different types of predictions are trying to be run on it, the more different predictors there are, and the more different oracles and participants that there are. So it's fantastic. And so I'd like to move on and talk about some of the things that we're doing that set us apart from other ICOs. Jen, I think this is probably another good place. You've kind of really driven us and guided us to set a new standard in the space. And do you want to try and introduce some of the things that we're doing differently?
Absolutely. One of the biggest reasons, and for everybody who's been around for a while, they know how often we've pushed back the token sale. But for some of our new listeners and community members tonight, we have pushed our token sale back, I think 3 or 4 times now. And the reason is because we have each time watched an injustice happen in the industry, and we've gone back to the drawing table and said, okay, how do we fix this? And how do we emerge as a leader in the space? How do we create a new best practice for not only projects doing token sales, but for all of these projects that are really learning the space as we go? And some of the things that we've come up with were, the first one was when Brave and Decentraland sold out their token sales within a minute. And their caps were about 35 million. And what happened was they ended up with a couple hundred users. Well, for Neureal and the way it's built, and like Preston talked about, for us to have the computing power that we need a massive amount of users. And so for us, we really looked at, okay, that would cripple us. Great, we'd have $35 million, but with only a couple hundred users, we would really be behind the 8 ball on getting out of the gates like we want for the compute power. So we looked. Yes, exactly. So there were a lot of things that we really wanted to look at and formulate a way that we could mitigate the risk of those. And so we went back to the drawing board. We looked at our token sale and the way we were going to run it. Will came up with a couple of really brilliant ideas on, one, allowing the token sale to last for an entire month. We have buckets that are going to fill on an hourly rate, and the price will increase at the end of each hour. But what really kind of sets this apart is that when an order is placed, if it is large enough to fill the first bucket, it will fill that first bucket. But instead of toppling over to the second bucket and the third bucket and the fourth bucket, depending on how big that order is, once it fills that first bucket, it drops to the bottom of any other orders that have been placed. And so it may, and even so, let's say there's 10 orders in there, they fill up the next couple 6 buckets. And then that process repeats again. So maybe that order is big enough that it's going to fill all of the 11th bucket, but it's not going to get to fill the 12th bucket. It's going to again drop all the way to the bottom of whatever orders are sitting there. And so it may very well take a large order the entire length and duration of the sale to fill. And so by doing that, what we managed to create was a scenario where all of the little tiny orders aren't going to get stuck behind these big ones. They're going to get filled at the end of each situation. So, yes. Yes. So that was a big one. We've added that one. One of the other ones that we have is our accountability protocol. So we've brought on advisors like Chris Snook and a couple others to help us really navigate the waters of the current blockchain landscape, which changes pretty much hour to hour. And so they can help guide us with decisions that we're making so that we really are upheld to our vision that we are a leader in this space. And there are a massive amount of decisions that get to be made on a daily basis. And so having a huge advisory panel has really helped us. We are a little bit different than a lot of projects in that we haven't just added 30 advisors and given them this name and then we don't rely on them for anything. We've been really selective about who we've brought on as advisors. They've been chosen because they are people who add to the project in a very big way. So we have that. We have an interim token that is a securities offering. It's being registered with the SEC. We have 3 tokens, which is very different. And that interim token, the one that'll be used during the token sale and during the foundation sale that's coming up, will be utilized as a security. It's treated as a security. We're registering it with the SEC and all the state and federal levels. And then once the network has been approved and is ready for release, that security token will be exchanged 1-for-1 for the utility token that will be used on the network. And so that allows us to be compliant with not only the US, but a large majority of the regulations that we know of that exist right now in other countries. We never really know what new regulations are coming out, but we're doing our best to comply with all of them. We also have, Kyler, what are the other ones I'm forgetting?
Oh, no,
I should
it's
know
fine.
these by rote.
No, you totally do, but I figured I'd pick up and not make you do the whole thing.
Yes, go.
And to be clear, that last bit, very interestingly, I love it, that was it the SEC chair recently who issued a note that everybody had been telling us for a very long time that no, you can't ever, like once you're security, you can't ever not be a security. And we're like, that's not how this works. The SEC chair just released a memo a few days ago that essentially says exactly what our plan, which is it's a security offering in the short term, and then it can later become a utility token. But until the token itself can pass the test of being used for something, then it can't work. And to clarify to everybody, and actually just to piggyback and continue my explanation, the other thing that we've got going on that we love is what we call the accountability protocol. We really hope that this is going to become a standard in the space. And the way that works is because it's a security offering, the token gets locked, but not just the tokens in your wallet get locked. Additionally, all of the Ethereum that we raise through the pre-sale and the token generation event, those get locked. And we can't access them. We can't just pull them out. What happens is instead they're pre-released dispersed is probably the correct term. In a set amount, we get different disbursements throughout the development cycle. And at each one of those disbursements, there's the possibility for the community to come forward and make a vote of no confidence in our team, the direction we're going, the way we're spending money. All of that's completely transparent. You can actually go on right now and see every dime we've spent, where we've paid it to, how much we've paid ourselves. everything. So entirely transparently, if the community feels like we're not doing a good enough job communicating with them or anything at all, they can vote for no confidence. And if the quorum reaches a certain percentage, we've yet to determine. We're trying to look at a few other things. We want to make it difficult enough that it would be hard to do this for bad faith reasons, but we want to make it low enough that it's more than possible for the community to do it without trying to get every single holder that exists. But if the community votes no confidence, all remaining Ethereum that are still in the smart contract that haven't yet been dispersed to our team get sent back to the people who contributed them in equal proportion to how much they contributed. So there's no possibility of us running away on an exit scam. Because we've seen so many exit scams. And not only that, this is only a problem in companies who don't have go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, I just wanted to emphasize this. This is what makes me want to be part of this team. The long term, it's not a race. We're trying to do something meaningful. That means that we register with governing bodies, correct? We find out the exact things that need to be done. And this, excuse me, this protocol, I can't say enough about it. This is the absolute opposite of what the bad ICOs are doing. They're trying to make money and run. It's not correct. This is a bad thing, and you guys are just totally doing the right thing by instituting these protocols. I applaud you, and I can't wait to work with you further. I do have to go though. This was short notice, and everybody's waiting for me at the dinner table.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for staying,
yes,
Chris.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, say bye-bye, Chris. Bye-bye. See you later.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
All right, so to continue on with that, at any one of those milestones, the Ethereum can be taken back, and that leaves us no opportunity for exit scams. It also doesn't make it possible for us to do stuff like a lot of other projects have done, which is make hard pivots without the consent or without the backing of the community. Any of those pivots, if the community doesn't agree that was the right way to go, if we haven't explained it to them well enough, if we have to make some sort of pivot in future, I'm not saying we will, but if we do need to, we need the consent of our community to do so, or else in our next funding cycle, we're not going to get our next distribution. So that really does give us the ability to allow our community to hold us accountable for everything. Go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say, and that happens at each one of our milestones on the roadmap right now is how that's scheduled. So it really is critical. And the reason we put that in place is, like Kyler said, we really want to make sure we're communicating what we're doing at every stage along the way. And so that was why we decided to put them at each.
One of the many reasons I love my job here. Let me make sure that everything's still kosher on the net side. Looks like it is. Thank you so much to all of our 7 people who are currently watching. We really appreciate you being here. We're not going to tie up your time for too much longer. We've mostly got through everything that Neureal is. There's just a couple more things that I want to include that are things that I guess I forgot in other places. People are asking how the blockchain technology is used with Neureal quite often in a lot of threads, and I want to do some clarification here. The data itself, these live data streams that we're talking about, those are not on the blockchain themselves. They're basically, when you set up the Oracle, it creates a side chain within our network, and that side chain is just for your Oracle. And so all the participants in that side chain, all the predictors that want to participate there, they're going to be able to join. We use homomorphic encryption on any private data streams that need to remain private, and that allows AIs to be able to work with the information without being able to communicate what that information is in a way that makes sense to people outside of it. Results of that, and there's a lot of reasons that you could create that. And in fact, there's even foreseeable ways in which oracles could be run without any substantial prizes to them at all, which opens up a lot of really cool opportunities, actually. Things that kind of everybody wants predicted, and the prediction thereof would actually benefit other predictions that are happening. So it really does give everybody in the world equal access and an equal playing field to the most powerful version of these AIs that currently it would take multiple millions of dollars to establish a team to be able to build one of these things and get it working to the point that it's going to work for your person or your business. And what we're hoping to build here, or what we are building here, is essentially not Google, but a search engine for the future. Probably more like Brave browser, I guess.
Yeah. And another important thing is this has the ability to surpass anything else that's come before it, simply because it's continuously improving. It's so widespread that once we turn this thing loose, I mean, there's no telling what it can do. You know, if you put together just one predictive AI team, you know, who knows if their answers are going to be correct or not. But this is continuously improving, and that competition and cooperation aspect really increases the accuracy quite dramatically.
Especially over time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
hey guys, we're probably reaching about to the end of what we want to do. We like to keep these short so that if you guys are trying to watch through just to get the security code, you don't have to suffer through too much. Jen, Preston, are there any points of what we have going on? I'm sure that there's tons of points that I haven't mentioned yet, guys. But if there's anything really important that I've skipped over, please remind me.
Can't really think of anything. I think we could probably move on to the bounty
Yeah,
program.
so real quick, before we move on to the bounty, let me ask if there's any community members out there in the live chat who have any questions to us about anything at all. Go ahead and toss those out. So, guys, the bounty program has been going pretty well. If you don't have a link to it already, there's links on all of our social media accounts as well as in the main Telegram channel. We are very excited to welcome all these new community members. If you are a member of the community who understands kind of how stuff happens here at Neureal, or at least think that you have a basis on it, please feel free to go ahead and start welcoming people and answering questions in the main Telegram channel. We've got a lot of people coming in. There is one more thing we need to mention. We already kind of talked about this a little bit, but the partnership has officially been announced between IAGON and Neureal. So we want to talk a little bit about exactly what that is and where that's going before we end the stream, I guess. IAGON is a really cool AI, leaning towards AI-driven blockchain project. Really, you can do just about anything with what they're building, but essentially imagine they're building essentially Amazon Web Services, only operated on people's home computers is the server time, well, server time you're renting out, computer time essentially that you're renting out, and that's all organized through their blockchain. In the same way that our blockchain technology uses it to coordinate the competitions and uses it to coordinate where you can pick up the data locations from. Theirs is more of using it. Anyhow, you should head over to their website to find out more. You can find a link to the article announcing our partnership. But essentially, anybody who wants to run a predictor on Neureal, if they can get their prices down to what they say they are compared to Amazon Web Services, it's going to be a very good and tempting alternative for predictors on our network to be able to run their models on. It sounds like it could be very profitable, and so it's really good for them because it provides a really good use case for their technology. And I can't say too much about it, but from what I understand, it's not that far off from being usable. So so long as theirs builds out the way that it's supposed to build, and so long as ours builds out the way that it's supposed to build, it's going to be a very fruitful union. Anything else before we wrap it up and do the drawing and then give out the live stream code?
I think we've inundated them with a lot this evening.
Probably. Okay. Michelle, great question. Where's the bounty? I will drop another link to the bounty. You can find it on the Twitter with this really fantastic Star Wars picture that I think is very appropriate. You can scroll up well, actually, no. I guess it's going to be kind of lost. You can actually look at it in the announcement channel. I think it's the third thing.
It's pinned, isn't it, Kyler?
Will has not yet pinned it.
Okay.
I will get on him about doing that soon. Michelle, I'll just drop another link to it in the main Telegram chat. Thanks for asking. So, moving on. Let's go ahead and get our drawing out of the way. For everybody who's new here, I aspire to drop daily tasks. I usually forget 1 or 2 days out of the week. And participation in those earns you entries into our weekly drawing, which we're about to do here. I've got all of the names into my cool randomizer, and I'm gonna pick one now. So This week's winner is Shadow. Shadow, go ahead and contact me via Telegram. Send me a direct message with the email that you used to sign up for the bounty program, and I will let you know what you've won. And now for everybody just waiting for this live streaming code, this week's code is Oracle. Let me make sure I am spelling that correctly in my head, but I believe it's ORACLE, no capitals. That's going to get you access to all those bounties that you've unlocked if you're just joining us this week. This live streaming code will only work for this week, so please make sure that you get it in as soon as possible. I'm going to check one more time to make sure I've got it right.
Tyler, what day does the week end? Just so that they know when they need to use the new link.
Week from today, week from Saturday. I change it about an hour before the stream starts, so it'll work right up until next week's live stream. Sound good? Oh, hey, there's one more thing. We're going to be dropping a link in the main Telegram chat to a poll where you can tell us what the best time for you to attend a live stream is. If this isn't to your satisfaction, if you're on the far side of the globe, we can shift up our schedule or at least do a special live stream at a different time. I will link that in the main Telegram, and I'm ORACLE. All right, code confirmed. Good deal, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week. We look forward to talking with you on our main Telegram channel. If you haven't done so already, take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon to be notified of our next live stream time. And I guess it's time to say goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.